How's it going, everyone? My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group. Today's topic, I want to discuss briefly what is a Guggenheim Annuity and a Guggenheim Annuity review regarding their fixed annuity product line, and why might somebody want to utilize Guggenheim Annuities, why would they not want to utilize Guggenheim Annuities, and kind of go over the pros and cons of each. Guggenheim is a good company. You know, they usually have really good contracts, and they mainly target a specific type of annuity contract known as a MIGA, which stands for multi-year guaranteed annuity. And what this means is if someone's going and they're placing premium dollars into this specific type of contract, you have to think of it like a bucket with a lid over it. The reason why that bucket example is important is because anything going outside of this bucket, anything that's happening with the stock market going up, going down, all those different interest rates, going up, going down, are not going to affect how somebody establishes their contract from inception. So with a MIGA, it works very similar to how a bank CD works, except for it gives you a little bit more favorability regarding the tax-deferred growth versus a taxable growth option. What do I mean by that? Well, I understand, not a tax advisor, so please, refer your tax advisor with this. But a really quick example: when you utilize the difference between a bank CD versus a fixed annuity, what happens is those fixed annuities, Guggenheim is an insurance company. Guggenheim Life and Annuity Company is the insurance company that offers these types of MIGA annuity contracts. With a bank CD, has to be offered through a bank. A bank can't offer annuities, and an insurance company cannot offer bank CDs. Each one of those has certain criteria on a legal reserve structure basis, and they both have to stay within their lane for regarding safety. So if we have an example where somebody utilizes $100,000, and let's say they have a 5-year bank CD that's paying 1% because interest rates are so poor right now, what we understand is each and every year this person's going to gain $1,000 each and every year, each and every year, each and every year. They're going to gain $1,000. They'll be able to live off of that $1,000 for interest because they were having a 1% interest rate off of those 5 years. After 5 years, that individual is able to walk away with the full $100,000. The reason why someone might want to utilize an annuity is it has very safe aspects as well, different structure of legal reserve, but what happens is it's typically about 2 to 3% higher than what a bank CD is currently offering. So for that same 5-year process with a fixed annuity, it might offer you 3% rate of return or 2.5% rate of return. So what we understand with this is rather than having to pull out that interest year by year, with the annuity contracts, you could actually allow that interest to grow year by year by year. So that means after the first year, your account value is looking at $103,000. The second year, it's going 3% of $103,000. So therefore, you're utilizing compound interest versus simple interest, because with the bank CD aspect to simple interest, each time that you're gaining interest, you're going to have to pay taxes on. You're getting a 1099 on that monies each and every year. So that's just a way on how you could allow that growth within that bucket to keep growing, growing, growing. Now, specific to Guggenheim and their MIGA product lines, their fixed annuity product lines, right now, as of July of 2016, they have product lines in the years of 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, 6-year, 7-year, 8-year, 9-year, and 10-year product lines. So what that simply says is, okay, if you're in a 3-year product, well, then you're going to have restrictions for those 3 years with the interest rate. So maybe, a 3-year product is going to be paying 2% rate of return as opposed to a 10-year product, which, and this is just a hypothetical example, might be paying 3.5% rate of return. The reason why it's longer, why they give you a larger percentage, is because your money is essentially locked up or has restrictions for those full 10 years, as opposed to the 3-year product, which is only locked up for about those 3 years. So Guggenheim's really good with how you could actually pull out those interest credits, or at least right now the current product lines, meaning that they allow you to pull out up to 10% starting after the first year per year, or you could pull out interest only, or you could just allow the account to keep festering in there and growing and growing and growing for those tax, for that tax deferred growth benefit. Another thing to be mindful of is Guggenheim's one of those companies that they utilize something known as high band and low band with their types of contracts. So what that says is, if you have a specific minimum requirement, such as, an example would be like $250,000 into like a 3-year product, well, maybe you might be able to be eligible for that 2% rate of return, as opposed to anything under $250,000. Well, maybe that would be subject to a 1.75% rate of return. So what they do is they're trying to incentivize somebody to place more dollars with their company, and then they'll give a higher interest credit for that individual. So it's all about, outweighing the pros and cons of each, and then making sure that if you're getting a specific rate of return, that rate of return is going to be consistent for all of those years. If you have a 5-year product line, this is a big difference between a typical fixed annuity versus a MYGA product. And what happens is you might have company A that's offering a fixed annuity that might say, okay, we're going to give you 3% for the first year, and then we're going to give you, it's going to be our discretion to see based upon a certain minimum requirement on what we'll pay you for the other 4 years. So as opposed to company B, which might say, hey, we're going to pay you 2.75% per year, but this is guaranteed to at least be 2.75% every single year going forward. So what this does is company A would go and sucker this person into placing dollars with them, say, oh, I received 3% my first year, but then just based upon the discretion of their company, and this is clear as day in the contract, and this is something why I really hate a lot of fixed annuities, because I think that the insurance companies play too many games with clients, is you want to make sure that verbiage shows that guaranteed side, shows that guaranteed number, not saying, oh, our discretion that we could reduce this all the way down to 1%. I was dealing with a client once in his 70s that had hundreds of thousands of dollars with a fixed annuity product line through a company that I'm not going to mention, but essentially they suckered this guy in. They said, okay, 3.5% we'll give you the first year, and then every year after that it's going to be based upon our discretion, and we could give you a minimum guarantee of 0.50%. Well, of course, after the first year they dropped their guarantee down to 0.50%, and he would have been a lot better just going into a 3% product that would have given him 3% consistently for those 5 years. So we had to do some replacement, and we had to do different things to make sure he was getting the better rate of return. The second point that I have over here, so understand, Guggenheim's a good company. They usually target the MYGA side, but there's many times that Guggenheim might not be the best product for your specific situation. And that's why number 2, I have avoid interest rate and inflation risk. And what I mean by that is, let's say that Guggenheim for a 5-year product is paying 2%. And that's going to be a contractual guarantee of 2% each and every year for the next 5 years that this person, let's say this individual is throwing $100,000 with that company. Well, if Guggenheim's offering 2%, but then you have 5 other carriers that are giving you 2.5% or higher, let's say, company ABC is giving you a 3% interest on that same 5-year time frame, why would you go with Guggenheim over something that could give you a much higher rate of return? So that's one of the things that we do with our office. Is we're an independent agency, so we don't have to be loyal towards one company over the next. It's all about the client. It's all about what's going to give them the best bang for their buck. For each dollar that they're placing into a contract, how can we make sure and find and decipher the best leverage out there, particular to their state, particular to their dollar amount that they want to receive that interest rate year by year. So it's all about making sure that you're comparing the companies against each other, and you're making sure that the terms of the contract as well are set up, meaning that it's not just a regular annuity that you place your dollars in there and then now you're restricted for those 5 years. They can never touch a dollar from there, because you have a lot of companies that do that. It's more that smoke and mirrors approach. You want to see something that gives you access to possibly 10% of whatever your account value is for up to those 5 years, or maybe interest only that you'll be able to pull out, something that's RMD friendly, that doesn't penalize you if you fall victim to something known as required minimum distributions. And you ultimately just want to have full flexibility with how you could access those funds. Now, understand, a very simple explanation would be, if you have a 5-year product, what that says is you're probably going to have restrictions for up to those 5 years. After that 5th year is done, then you have 100% access to those monies. If you have a 3-year product, well, then you have restrictions for those 3 years. After those 3 years are done, then you have 100% access to into those monies. So if we're making sure that, based upon what your goal is, if you just want to try to get the best guarantee or the best interest rate credit in there, well, you don't have to be handcuffed to just Guggenheim. You want to make sure that you're always using your dollar the best way possible. Inflation risk is the secondary aspect, and what it says is the cost of goods and services increase by in between 3 to 4% per year. So if you have something that's going to be paying 1% per year, but inflation's increasing by 3% per year, well, then you're losing out minus 2% of inflation risk each and every year. So we want to see when interest rates peak back up, and then you have the common trend with these MYGA rates and these fixed annuities start increasing, and the bank CDs start increasing, how to leverage that properly. So that's why I like to see rule of thumb right around like a 5-year, 7-year product, to say, okay, even if the interest rates do peak back up, or even if they drop again, well, you're getting locked into a contract that's giving you favorable interest rates right now, now, and then if it goes back up after, that 5-year mark, 6-year mark, 7-year mark, well, then you could take everything that you gained and you could roll it over into whatever the next best option is in there. Many times I see the mistakes that individuals go and they'll handcuff their money for over 10 years or 10 years, and if interest rates go back up and you have other product lines that are coming out, well, if they want to go and switch over to those product lines, they're going to get penalized. So you just kind of want to see the good with the bad and make sure that you're avoiding, any of that risk best way possible. The very last point that I'm trying to make, or that I want to discuss, is how to set up your plan properly, your retirement planning needs properly, and whether that's Guggenheim could accomplish that goal or whether it's another company can. It's all about leveraging your chips the proper way. Our happiest clients, what we notice is that they have 3 main criteria met. The first criteria is that they have income sources that are coming to them on a safe, guaranteed basis. So maybe that might be Social Security income going to that individual, maybe it might be pension income, or maybe it might be a portion of savings that has a certain contractual guarantees and safety with those savings to provide those income sources from 3 different angles. If somebody has expenses of, let's say, $40,000 per year, and your income sources are accomplishing those expenses, well, then you're ahead of the curve. Now you could utilize those other monies, your emergency monies, towards these types of fixed annuity product lines, and make sure that you're getting that good consistent rate of return, you're beating out that inflation risk, and you're leveraging your chips the proper way. The very last aspect is inflationary protection, and what this means is mainly on an income play. Let's say if your expenses are $40,000 but maybe $30,000 of it is fixed and $10,000 is inflationary expenses, well, you want to make sure that you're executing an income plan properly that's going to step up in income every few years to incorporate that inflation, to say, okay, right now you're getting paid $40,000, but then maybe you want to trigger another product line that's going to provide you an extra $5,000 in 5 years or so, and then another $5,000 from those 5 years. And you just always want to make sure that you're ahead of the curve and you're confident, so that when you stop working or you want to retire, you're doing it the best possible way. And that's something that we try to help out on all angles. We represent all the top carriers out there, all the carriers in your particular area, hundreds of different carriers, multiple proprietary strategies, making sure that for somebody that's giving us a call, we're going to educate them first and foremost, and we're going to explain to them, the pros and cons, and then based upon all our different analysis, on average, we go through over 1,200 different product strategies and scenarios before we recommend our top 3 results. For your peace of mind, to make sure that we're placing it through the ringer and we're placing you in the best position, rather than trying to work for the company. We're working for the client to make sure that you're able to leverage your chips properly. We are A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. We've always had very good reviews. We've never had any complaints. It's because of our methodical process. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.